What if the recent shift in French President Emmanuel Macron's stance towards the Russian-Ukraine war is more than just a policy change? Could it be a strategic move aimed at not only bolstering European unity, but also paving the way for France to assert dominance within the European Union? France's relationship with NATO has always been complex, marked by suspicion and a desire for autonomy. This is a legacy from President Charles de Gaulle, who partially withdrew France from NATO back in 1966. He believed that France, armed with its own nuclear arsenal, could meet the United States on equal terms in international politics. This suspicion never quite faded, even when France re-entered NATO as a full member in 2009. The French nuclear arsenal has always been independent of NATO. Successive French presidents have echoed de Gaulle's sentiment, stating that French nuclear weapons serve the country's vital interests and would not be used for collective security. However, the definition of these vital interests has always been purposefully ambiguous. In 2020, Macron stated that these vital interests do have a European dimension. Recently, he clarified his stance, suggesting a discussion with EU leaders about using French nuclear weapons as a credible European defense against Russia. This proposal implies that while France would retain control of its weapons, they could contribute to EU defense. Macron's proposal comes at a time when two key factors are in play. Firstly, France is the only nuclear power within the EU, which would give it the final say on all matters involving nuclear weapons. Secondly, there is a growing European concern that the US might leave NATO, creating a vacuum that France could potentially fill. Macron is leveraging this fear to position France as the leading military power in the EU, thereby promoting France's long-term goal of creating an EU army. If the EU agrees to create a European nuclear deterrent, this could force Russia to reconsider escalating the war in Ukraine or against NATO. The balance of terror that marked the Cold War era could once again become a reality, serving as a moderating influence. This proposed deterrent would be independent of NATO, and therefore its use would not be conditioned on NATO Article 5 requirements. France's decision to maintain a credible defense, its energy independence and economic strength, place it in a strong position within Europe. While Germany may boast a larger economy, France holds the upper hand in almost every other aspect, giving it the power to dictate military matters. Given the current state of affairs with Brexit, the Ukraine war, France's EU nuclear monopoly, and the European panic over a Trump presidency, France has found an opportunity to initiate changes that would increase its influence. France's nuclear deterrence in the EU, coupled with its economic strength, could potentially fulfill de Gaulle's goal of standing on equal terms with the US and Russia. It could leverage its position to reshape the EU military in line with its economic power under the influence of French leadership, thereby making the Gallic philosophy a reality. In conclusion, Macron's aggressive stance on the Russian-Ukraine war could be a calculated move to strengthen France's position within the EU. By leveraging its nuclear strength and the current geopolitical climate, France could potentially rise to become the dominant power within the EU.